Hello hockey fans, and welcome back to another episode of Whatever Happened To, the series where we take a where are they now look at players who found success in the National Hockey League but are no longer permanent fixtures in the league, either due to controversy, poor play, or just rotten luck. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at a 16-year veteran of the league, owner of over 1,000 NHL games played, and a Stanley Cup champion, as we ask, whatever happened to Valtteri Filppula? The 95th overall pick of the 2002 NHL draft by the Detroit Red Wings, Valtteri Filppula would spend the following 3 seasons of his career back home in Finland, as he returned to his pre-draft organisation Jokerit and scored 48 points in 104 Liga games. After producing 30 points in 55 games during the 04-05 season, and after leading Jokerit to a silver medal in the Liga playoffs thanks to his 11 points in 12 postseason games, the former third-round draft pick would finally secure his first contract overseas, as he signed a 3-year deal with Detroit on August 19, 2005. Over the course of his entry-level contract, Filppula would see himself quickly transform from promising prospect to NHL mainstay on the Red Wings roster. With 20 goals and 70 points in just 74 AHL games during his debut year in North America, and with an equally impressive 16 points in 16 playoff games, Filppula would not only secure his place at the 2006 AHL All-Star Game, he would also earn his first stint in the best league in the world, as he suited up in 4 NHL games during the 05-06 season and registered a single point in that span. From there, the Finnish forward wasted little time securing his place in Hockeytown, as he spent nearly the entirety of the following 06-07 season in the NHL, except for a 3-game stint in the minors to start the year, before playing the 07-08 season solely in the bigs. Not only that, the former third-round pick also became quite the productive scorer too, as he potted 19 goals and 36 points in 78 games during his first full season in the league. If all of that wasn't impressive enough though, Filppula's 11 points in 22 games during the 2008 playoffs helped him lift a championship, as Detroit defeated the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games in the finals to clinch the 2008 Stanley Cup. So just 3 years after leaving his homeland behind and making the move to North America, Valtteri Filppula had earned a permanent place on the Red Wings roster, become a productive player for his new team, and gotten his hands on the greatest trophy in the sport. This impressive rise in such a short span of time prompted Detroit to lock the forward up for the foreseeable future, as they signed Filppula to a 5-year, $15 million contract worth an average annual value of $3 million a season on July 30th, 2008. So thanks to his strong production in recent years and his role in securing a championship for his team, Filppula would now be calling Hockeytown his home for many years to come. Though he would never win another Stanley Cup for the rest of his career, Filppula's tenure in the NHL was only just getting started. The first 3 seasons of Filppula's new contract would see the forward continue to put up similar numbers as his breakout year in 07-08 and cement his reputation as an effective, high-scoring top-9 forward in the league. Thanks to his 40 points in 80 games during the 08-09 season, his 35 points in just 55 games during an injury-riddled 09-10 season, and his 39 points during the 10-11 season, Filppula was earning every penny of his shiny new contract and then some. And that's not even mentioning his 33 points in 46 playoff games during that same span too. However, Filppula's performance during year 4 of his contract would blow each of the prior seasons completely out of the water. Playing as a top 6 forward on the Red Wings' second line during the 11-12 NHL season, the 27-year-old somehow took his game to a completely different level, as he finished the year with an impressive 23 goals and 66 points in 81 games. Not only would he register his highest goal total at that time, Filppula's 43 assists and 66 points would set new career highs in both categories that would last the rest of his NHL career. Despite this breakout performance though, the Red Wings were unable to convert this success into a deep postseason run, as Filppula scored 2 points in 5 playoff games before Detroit were eliminated in the first round by the Nashville Predators. So in his 5th full NHL season, Filppula had produced the best scoring numbers of his entire pro career, had become a leader for his team both on the ice and in the locker room, and had more than lived up to his lengthy multi-million-dollar contract. As he approached the final season of his 5-year deal, the Finnish forward was eager to build on his recent success and secure himself an even bigger payday over the coming months. But first, there was a lockout! During the 12-13 lockout, Filppula would take his talents back across the pond and return to a familiar franchise, as he signed with Liga side Jokerit on September 21, 2012. After spending several months back home, and after putting up 15 points in 16 games for his longtime team, the lockout finally came to an end, and Filppula returned to Detroit's roster. From there, Filppula would spend the rest of the season with the Red Wings, and look to continue his strong play from both his brief stint back home and his career year prior. Unfortunately though, the Finnish forward was unable to pick up right where he left off. In fact, the forward would end up taking a huge step backwards instead, as he potted just 9 goals and 17 points in 41 games that year. This disappointing production wouldn't help Detroit's postseason success either, as Filppula scored 6 points in 14 playoff games before the Red Wings were eliminated in the second round by the Chicago Blackhawks. Once his 5-year contract with Detroit had expired, and having scored 197 points in 328 games over the course of the deal, Filppula decided to forego re-signing with the Red Wings and instead enter free agency as a UFA. Though he was coming off his least productive season since his rookie year in the league, the 29-year-old forward would secure himself quite the raise, as on July 5, 2013, he signed a 5-year, $25 million contract worth an average annual value of $5 million a season with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So after parts of 8 seasons on Detroit's roster, and 11 years after he had been drafted by the Red Wings organization, Valtteri Filppula had left the only NHL team he had ever known and signed the contract of his career elsewhere in the league. Though his tenure with the Lightning would be over before his new deal was up, Filppula would produce quite the productive tenure while down in Tampa. The 13-14 NHL season would see the freshly signed Filppula suit up for the Lightning for the first time and look to rebound from his disappointing year prior. Luckily for both the player and his new organisation, he would certainly get his wish. After spending much of the season as Tampa's best centre, thanks to an injury to Lightning star Steven Stamkos, the Finnish forward would rebound in a big way by potting 25 goals and 58 points in 75 regular season games. Not only would this total set a new career high in goals scored that would stand for the rest of his NHL career, Filppula would finish the year 3rd in scoring on Tampa's roster. Not a bad debut, eh folks? Despite this clear resurgence, Tampa were unable to go far into the playoffs, as Filppula scored just a single point in 4 games before the Lightning were swept in the first round by the Montreal Canadiens. Following his impressive opening season in Tampa, the next 2 years of Filppula's career would see the forward continue to ply his trade in the Lightning's top 6 and produce decent scoring numbers for the team. With 48 points in 82 games during the 14-15 season, and with 31 points in 76 games during the following 15-16 season, it was clear that Filppula had taken a notable step back in his production compared to his first year with the team, but he was still notching respectable stats as he entered his early 30s. However, Filppula's 4th season in Florida would see him depart from the team before the year was over. After scoring 7 goals and 34 points in the first 59 games of the season, just hours before the 2017 NHL trade deadline on March 1st, it was announced that Tampa had traded Filppula to the Philadelphia Flyers, along with a 2017 4th rounder and conditional 7th rounder in exchange for defenseman Mark Streit. Interestingly though, this wasn't the first trade that Filppula was supposedly involved in during the run-up to the trade deadline, as a Sportsnet article released at the time revealed that Filppula had supposedly rejected a trade to the Toronto Maple Leafs. According to the article, the 33-year-old was set to be included in a deal earlier in the week that included fellow Lightning forward Brian Boyle being sent to Toronto, but Filppula exercised the no-trade clause in his contract to remove himself from the transaction. Just a few days later on trade deadline day, Filppula was eventually traded to the Flyers. So after parts of 4 seasons with the Lightning organisation, and after scoring 171 points in 292 games during his tenure with the team, Filppula had been shipped off to the city of brotherly love in order to join the 3rd NHL team of his career. Though he likely would have preferred to stay in Florida for the remainder of his contract, the former 3rd round pick was eager to make the most of his time in Pennsylvania. After being traded to Philadelphia, Filppula would spend the rest of the 16-17 season with the Flyers, and though he wouldn't set the world on fire, he would register a respectable 8 points in 20 games with his new team, meaning he finished the year with 12 goals and 42 points in 79 games. Unfortunately though, Filppula's numbers during his brief tenure on the roster wouldn't be enough to lead the Flyers to the postseason, as Philadelphia missed out on the playoffs for the third time in 5 years. Interestingly though, the 2017 playoffs also became the first postseason that Filppula would miss in his entire NHL career. The dude had suited up in the playoffs every single year for a decade since entering the league full-time back in 2007. Not everyone gets so lucky, eh, folks? So after spending most of the season in Tampa, Valtteri Filppula had rejected a trade to Canada, joined the Flyers at the deadline, and missed the playoffs for the first time in his NHL career. However, the final season of his contract would end up being his last in Pennsylvania. The 17-18 NHL season would see Filppula take to the ice for his first full season in Philadelphia, where he looked to make a greater impact during the final year of his contract. Though his numbers would take a notable step back compared to the season prior, the newly named alternate captain of the team would still register 11 goals and 33 points in 81 games. This production would help Filppula regain his rightful place in the postseason, as the Flyers did return to the playoffs, but their trip would be brief, as Filppula scored 3 points in 6 games, before Philadelphia were eliminated in the first round by their rivals, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh, that one's got a sting, folks. Once his 5-year contract he had originally signed with Tampa had expired, and having scored 41 points in 101 games since joining the Flyers, the 34-year-old forward decided to take his talents elsewhere in the league and enter free agency once again as a UFA. Unlike last time though, the forward wouldn't have to wait very long to get his hands on a new deal, as on July 1st, 2018, Filppula signed a 1-year contract worth $2.75 million with the New York Islanders. So after spending a season and a half with the Flyers, Valtteri Filppula had moved to Philly's divisional rival in Brooklyn and joined his third NHL team in the last 3 seasons. Though he would earn nearly half the yearly salary he had been making on his previous contract, the Finnish forward would make sure to earn every penny of his new deal. The 18-19 NHL season would see Filppula suit up for the Islanders for the very first time and look to make a strong first impression for his new team as he entered his mid-30s. Luckily for both the player and the organisation, he would do exactly that. Playing all 3 forward positions throughout the year, the former third-round pick would finish the season with 17 goals and 33 points in 72 games, just 2 points less than his prior year in Philly, but in 9 less games played. This production would help the Islanders punch their ticket to the playoffs, where Filppula scored 4 points in 8 games, but New York were eliminated in the second round by the Carolina Hurricanes. After his contract with the Islanders had expired, and having failed to help the team take the next step in the postseason, Filppula decided that his time with the Islanders had come to an end. Instead, the Finnish forward returned to a familiar franchise, as on July 1st, 2019, he signed a 2-year, $6 million contract worth an average annual value of $3 million a season with the Detroit Red Wings. So after spending over half a decade elsewhere in the league, Filppula was returning to the team that had drafted him all those years ago and was heading back to where it all began. Though he was quickly entering the twilight years of his career and would continue to take further steps backwards over the course of his new deal, Filppula was still more than capable of holding his own in the best league in the world. The next 2 years of Filppula's career would see the forward don the red and white jersey of Detroit for the first time in 6 seasons and make his triumphant return to Hockeytown. Though he would show clear regression in his play during his return, Filppula clearly still had some gas left in the tank. With 21 points in 70 games during the 2019-20 season, and with 15 points in just 38 games during the recent 2021 season, Filppula's production was clearly nothing to write home about, but he could still put up decent totals for a rebuilding Red Wings team full of young prospects and aging veterans. While his performance on the scoreboard may have been lacking compared to years past, the former third-round pick would reach a pretty impressive milestone during his second tenure with Detroit. During a game against the New York Rangers on February 1st, 2020, Filppula took to the ice in his 1,000th NHL game, becoming just the 8th Finnish player in league history to do so. Despite this incredible achievement though, Filppula would be unable to help Detroit return to the postseason in either year of his contract, as the Red Wings failed to punch their ticket to the playoffs in each of those 2 years and brought their streak up to half a decade. Once his 2-year contract had expired, and having registered his least productive seasons in the league since the lockout nearly a decade ago, Filppula knew that his NHL career was on its last legs, but he looked to see if he could earn one last contract either with Detroit or elsewhere in the league. When neither the Red Wings nor any other NHL team showed serious interest in signing him for the upcoming 21-22 season, the 37-year-old decided to move back across the pond to Europe and take his talents to a brand new league, as on August 24, 2021, it was announced that Filppula had signed a 1-year contract with Geneva Servette HC of the Swiss National League. So after 16 seasons in North America, over 1,000 NHL games played, and a Stanley Cup championship, Valtteri Filppula had said goodbye to the NHL, left North America behind, and made the move to Switzerland for the first time in his career. To this day, Valtteri Filppula is still a member of Geneva Servette's roster. Though he is suiting up in his first full season outside of the NHL in over a decade and a half, Filppula has wasted little time getting comfortable with his new team. With 2 goals and 5 points in his first 3 games of the season, the Finnish forward has hit the ground running and shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon, as he is tied for second in scoring across the entire National League at the time of this recording. Given his long and successful NHL career and his strong start so far in Switzerland, it wouldn't surprise me if Filppula remained as one of the National League's best and most productive forwards throughout the year. After all, the guy posted 2 20-goal seasons and 5 40-point seasons in the best league in the world. He certainly knows how to put the puck in the back of the net, right guys? But regardless of how well the rest of the season plays out for him, there is no denying that Valtteri Filppula produced one hell of an NHL career. In 1,056 regular season games, Filppula scored 197 goals and 333 assists for 530 points, as well as 86 points in 166 playoff games too. Add to that his Stanley Cup championship in 2008 and nearly $50 million of career earnings, and he certainly could have done a lot worse for himself. Not a bad career for a 3rd-round draft pick, folks? And there you go. That's what happened to Valtteri Filppula. What do you guys think about Filppula's NHL career? Was it good, bad, or do you think he should still be playing there for the upcoming season? Also, do you have another player that you would like me to look at as part of this series? Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, Saeed and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.